she was a little down, but I think she's doing better now that I sent her about 6 books. That'll keep her.
Very nice.
Books, the world of introverts.
Yes.
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
my.
So she was a little down, but I think she's doing better now that I sent her about.
Oh, it's copying you.
Sorry, that's me because we just went live. Sorry about that.
All right. Well, gee.
Oh,
I
wait.
think boy, I sound like that. I sound terrible.
I always think the same thing. I hear myself in recording and I'm like, that's not me.
Yeah.
Surely I have a cooler voice.
Yes. Yes, indeed. At least it's not way, you know, I don't talk like this and I don't talk like that.
Yes, we are live now. We're live a little bit early,
All right.
just so that, you know, people can come on and not feel like they're missing out.
There we are.
So Randy, what did you think of this mock trial being 8th graders? Was it
Oh,
pretty-
I thought it was fantastic. And so that nobody has to hear it twice. I was gonna do it, you know, once when everybody's here.
I
But
shouldn't have asked.
I can say for all of you early birds, you get an extra because that was impressive. That was impressive. You would never in a million years have thought you were all 8th graders.
Mhm.
And that's not intended to be a slam on 8th graders, but you know, it's not. You showed a level of sophistication and thought that I thought was great.
Yeah, I agree.
Kicking in more and more, kicking in.
I think that David is trying to do a little bit of last minute calculations anyway, so.
So you tell me when everybody's here where you'd like to have me start.
Okay, well, we'll wait for David
I'm just
to
gonna
log in and see what he's. Sure, or you could sit here if you want. I bet all these students are sleep well tonight. From all the nerves, right? All that energy.
God, in a playground.
Yes, it's also a very difficult task when you've got the screen is just far enough away that I can't read the screen with my reading glasses, but the stuff that's in front of me is too close. So it's like this the whole time.
My audio.
Oh, the joys of Zoom, right?
Yes, indeed. Just pulling it away.
Crickets.
Crickets.
No.
See if I can exit everybody here.
Why don't you put your version thing back on?
Can you hear me now, Emily? I don't know. Can anyone hear me? Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I get tons of thumbs up. That's awesome.
Yeah, I almost made a smart aleck comment this morning with Detective Cheney's police guns. I go, I don't allow guns in my courtroom. I'm not silly. But I didn't kick them out. I didn't make it take them down.
She's serious.
Boy, I guess.
A serious gun enthusiast. Clearly,
Oh, but-
clearly this was South Carolina, right? Not California.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, and some of you looked, I mean, you graduated from college in 1982, which means that you'd pretty much be the same age as me, and you don't look at all like me.
Oh, boy.
Oh, and this is who my aunt out there who keeps texting me while I'm on the Zoom meeting. So, okay, that's fun.
I'm assuming that's Jenny.
No, it's my brother's sister.
Ah, okay.
I don't
Okay.
have Aunt Jenny's phone number.
Okay.
Okay, it's almost 4:30, but I think, I see Angela, I can see you're on right now. I think David was doing some final calculations. It looked like, so we might not start right at 4:30.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Trademark.
Lorelai, was that you?
Yep, Lorelai
Did
sneezes.
you
Even
sneeze?
trans-
Oh my gosh,
Lorelai.
Lorelai.
Right when I heard it, I knew it was Lorelai.
Janelle, I think we could probably start with the students, interacting with the judge while David is still working on the scores.
Okay, that's fine. So you mean like if the kids have certain questions for the judge, or do you want to do
Yes.
judges?
Yeah, because usually this is a question. This is usually a question and answer kind of time as well, or in our normal. When we meet together, the judge gets to interact with the kids and.
Okay.
Tell you what, if I can, just let me say a few things and then I'm going to let you take anything, including anything I say, and you can ask away. And if it's at all possible, I'll answer completely and honestly. But first of all, I want to let everybody know that I was extremely impressed. I was very impressed. There were so many times that it was just too easy to forget that each of you were in 8th grade. I mean, you really could. I suddenly found myself going, this can't be, but it was. And so you should all go to bed tonight really proud. And hopefully everybody that you care about is going to know how well you did when you go home and get a chance to stop listening to Zoom and talk to real people. But what I really wanted to say in addition to that, because it was important to me once I started to go through the materials and hear the arguments and listen, that what I wanted to do is share some of the things that I learned that maybe can be helpful, but not just for some of you, if you ever want to become a lawyer. And trust me, in 8th grade, you're about the same age as that I decided that I wanted to be a lawyer. And I ended up going to graduate school to work on a PhD for my Old Testament studies, became a youth director. I did a lot of things before I went back to being a lawyer. So you've got a lot of time to figure out what it is that you want to do. But the lessons that you can learn, I think, are real important for all kinds of choices that you'll make, whatever it is. And some of them are specific to being a lawyer, yes. But I call them skills and lessons from the bar, and it's not that kind of bar. It's the state bar, which is what you belong to as a lawyer. And the first one is that being the best on any given day does not mean you will win on that day. So don't be depressed and down from results. because results are outside your control. And as a lawyer, you got to realize that all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten through a case and I knew I did well. I knew I did well. Man, my crosses were great. My closing was, riveting. I had people in the jury sitting on the ends of their chairs. They were out for 3 days and came back and found against me. I lost. And then we met with the jury and I said, what happened? And they said, you were great. You were great. You were fascinating. I love listening to you. I love the way you tore that other guy to pieces on what he was saying. And you're like, well, why did you rule against me then? Because your client did it. And things like that. But you can't let that get personal to you. So there's too many outside factors. So only focus on what you can do. And that is to do the best job that you can do. And then the second one is, and this relates specifically to today, what I heard is tell a story. Story versus argument is a no-brainer. The story will win. So when you're thinking through your opening statement and your closing argument, you've got to be thinking about what story do you want to tell. And I can tell you that some of the people that I heard, you'll know that you did it, because I'm going to mention, without mentioning names, things that some of you did. When you tell a story about Ms. Barrett, you have to convince the jury to like her, or at least empathize with her. And so you have to make her more than a person who just pulled a gun. You have to make her a person that is more than a punching bag. You have to tell her story and let the jury like her. And then, just like in any story, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I'm going to ask this question for all of you. Who's the hero of the story? When you're telling your story, a lot of you told, we're giving the closing arguments and the opening statements. Some of you didn't. So I'm still wanting your response. What is it? Who's the hero of the story you're trying to tell? Anybody? If you think you got an answer, raise your hand. Oh man, we're hearing crickets here. Okay, go ahead. Folsom attorney Lee Porter and Amy. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I guess it just depends on what side you're on, but like if you're on the defense, I mean, you really have to like believe in Barbara. You have to like think of her as being the hero if you're on the defense, because I feel like that would really help your case.
Okay, very good. Anybody else got an idea? I'll tell you who the hero is. Okay, oh, there you go.
Not to disagree with you.
Well, if you're on the prosecution side, maybe like Cheney, the brave officer who went into the crime scene single-handedly to serve justice or something.
That's a good thought. I'm going to give you an idea if you're on the jury. Okay, go ahead, Sonora.
Okay. So, or again, if you're on the prosecution side, maybe it's John, because, he endured, from the prosecution's look at it, he endured Barbara going through untrusting him and like being maybe unfaithful to him, like as he thought it, because she was wary and she was skittish and she was scared. So he's like, oh, this isn't that much, and he endured all of that. And then maybe other than for when you're looking at defense, maybe other than Barbara Barrett, maybe it's Dan McGuire, because she has been she is trying to stop battered women. She's trying to stop that system. She's trying to stop women from being battered, because it really affects their self-confidence. And so, there's lots of ways you can look at it.
Okay, now here's my question, because I do see a couple jurors that are here. And so I want to know what you're thinking too. Here's a question, and then we'll go to Josh here. Is who are you telling the story for?
Talking.
Who's the audience for the story? Anybody? Who are you telling?
The jurors and the judge.
Okay, and in a trial, you're typically looking only at the jurors, because they're the ones who are going to make a decision on your client's fate. So you're telling the story for the jurors. Okay, And in any story, who wants to be the hero?
The person who makes the decision.
Okay.
I was gonna say that the jury. I thought the jury would be the hero because they get to make the right choice.
Absolutely right. That's the answer that any good trial attorney is going to tell you, that the story that you're trying to tell, as much as all the people who are really being talked about in the trial, the hero that you're trying to get them to take on the heroic role is the jury, because they're the ones who can distribute justice. They can make justice happen. And that's what you want them to see, is that when they make their decision, whichever side you're on, you're saying that go into that room and do justice. Follow Micah, make justice. Vote him guilty or vote him not guilty, but you're trying to have them do justice. So they're the heroes of that story. So that's, some of you did it. And some of you really made that effort to both tell a story and then call on the jury to do something that nobody else has done, whether that be defend this woman, give her peace, allow her to heal, or stand up for John because he can't speak for himself anymore. So that's the first one. And the third one is, this one is kind of specific, but it's take the sting out. One team, it was the only team that did it the whole time, had their first witness for the prosecution was Lee Porter. And nobody else did. And I questioned, why are they doing that? But the first question to the first witness was, have you been convicted of a crime? Okay. Wow, what a first question. But it took the sting out, because now you've done it. There's no hiding it. You didn't try to hide that from a jury. You let them do it. You gave them the answer. You let her explain it. And it defeated the whole process afterwards. And the lesson from that is just don't be afraid to face the biggest problem you've got head on. Hit it head on. Don't try to run away from it. It's in the same case in trials. Don't. Acknowledge that that's the problem and then go do it. Do something about it, which is what you did. So that's the third thing. And then the fourth one is just to pay attention to everything. Evaluate everything. You had a lot of materials to go over. And in real law, that's about maybe 1,000th of the amount of documents and things you've got to go through. You could probably anywhere from 30,000 pages to, I've been in one that it was 1 million pages that you've got to go through. And you need to know what those are, but you need to evaluate all those facts and pick out which ones are important, which ones help you, which ones hurt you, which ones you just don't care about. Because a jury can't listen to all of the facts. They're going to be selective. And you've got to be confident in yourself to say, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to do that. And then do it. Just follow that. One of the things that happened with the defense, almost in every instance, and was, what was the biggest problem that the defense felt that they had? If you were a defense on the defense side as an attorney, what was the biggest problem that you faced? Facts-wise.
Probably that Barbara shot the gun 6 times.
Okay, good. That's the first part, and it's related to it. What's the second part? Yep, in the middle. Folsom attorney Lee Porter, Amy.
Well, maybe like that, like someone saw her.
Or the problem, he shot him 6 times, but there's an even bigger problem than the shot him 6 times. Where did she shoot him? Anybody?
In the head.
In the back of his body mostly.
Yes, in his back, and then undoubtedly we can know that the last shot was the one to his head. You know why we can know that that was the case? Because he wouldn't have been moving, right? So shot him in the back of the head and shot him 5 other times, fired 4 other times that hit him, of which most of them were in the back. That's hands down your biggest factual problem as a defendant. But it's only a problem for self-defense, okay? You can't shoot somebody in the back and say, well, they were trying to kill me. No, that doesn't work. They're trying to run away. But the way the facts were laid out, you were given an option to be able to rely on self-defense or battered wife syndrome. And some of you combine the two together. In fact, most of you combine those two together. And that didn't surprise me at all, because we want to do that because it seems risky to try to throw one out and just say, you know what, I'm going to go with the battered wife syndrome. And so when you see something like that, don't be afraid of relying on your own instinct and knowledge and putting it to the side and making a decision and going forward. And that's also not something that's just in trials. That's something that's a life lesson, to do the same thing. So those are the 4 things that when I was watching and writing, it just, those jumped off the page at me, and things that if I was your age, when I was your age, that's what I'd want to hear. But now we can talk about anything that you'd like to talk about and ask away. How many of you have struggle with the hearsay rule? How, honestly, if you were being a lawyer, how many struggle with the hearsay rule? Okay, all of you did. That's good. That's about consistent with every member of the bar. All right, because every lawyer I know struggles with what is hearsay. So don't feel bad about that. You're in good company. So now, with that being said, what other things would you like to ask me? Just go ahead and push a button and start talking.
Well, we do have Judge Merritt. We do have David here.
Oh, okay. Where's David?
Hear from him first, and then end with questions, or would you like to do questions first and then end with results?
I think most people here are really dying to know the results. And if anybody wants to still talk to me after this, they're welcome. I will be the last person to hang up. Yeah. But right now, I think most people would really like to know how things went.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Well, actually, I'm going to have to keep everybody in suspense. So I'm still waiting for one recalculation. Sorry. One recalculation on a jury evaluation.
David?
Yes.
Is that for Jonathan?
Berkey, yes.
Okay, he just texted me something. He just texted me it. So can I text it to you or?
Sure.
Okay, I'll do that.
Because I don't want to keep everybody in suspense, and we came up and I had would have had a provisional final scoring, because my wife and we calced all the sheets. That's how, and I returned several sheets back for recalculation by the jury, just so that we kept everything above board and consistent, and I didn't make any errors. So we double checked all that. So if we get this final number, then we will be able to give a final score. I will tell you, if it's all on the provisional, it'll all be, it's pretty clear, but it's pretty close. So you all did a great job. And I would have to say, jurors were, as you'll find throughout your life, if you've done speech and debate, if you've done other things, jurors are kind of, tend to be on kind of one way or another, and you'll find, for the most part, They tend to be either a little bit more conservative or strict, and other ones being maybe a little bit more liberal, a little bit more providing more grace in their evaluations. And then you'll find a couple that are probably middle of the road. So we had some very high, scores coming through, and then a little low ones, and then a couple in the middle. But we'll see if I get the final here, and I'll let the judge take questions, and then why don't we just come back, and if I get the number, then we'll make the final announcement.
All right. I'm going to go back to where I have it on gallery view because I can't really see everybody. There we go. Speak away. I will answer any questions while we're waiting. Just go ahead and talk. You don't have to answer. I just hit the button and talk.
What's your favorite color?
Very funny, Sonora. You were going to ask me a question.
You said ask a question, so I asked a question.
Orange.
I was wondering how you would actually defend the case, because in the incident report, Cheney marked it as stranger to stranger. I don't know if that was just another mistake or.
You did, and I can't remember. I wrote that down. Somebody noted that in their cross-examination, and that is the first thing that I would do. Is I would have, as some of you did, the incident report, the police report had a lot of issues with it, and it showed a little bit of sloppiness, and none of those sloppy errors really was what you would call material, but it showed kind of a slapdash approach to it. So that's one thing to start with. The other thing that I would have started with on the defense is emphasize a little bit more, without just jumping on her conviction. I would have allowed her to lie more. Let her lie. Let her say, no, I never got convicted, because that's what she was going to say. Let her say on the stand that she was never convicted, she was just accused, and then drop the other bombshell on her. Make her look like she's lying then. The third thing I would do is focus on the battered wife syndrome rather than the self-defense, because the self-defense is just not going to work. She shot him 5 times, and 3 of them were in the back and 1 was to the head. You're not likely to get self-defense. So do the battered wives. And one of them, I can't remember which one, when they asked the woman, Ms. Barrett, what she remembered, it was a perfect opportunity to make that argument, because she testified at that time that when he testified, I want a divorce, she didn't remember anything more after that point, until she's crying with the police officer. And that's what battered wife syndrome is. And so you push on that. But as soon as she remembered things and people were pushing that, yes, I grabbed the gun and I got angry and I got mad, you're going to lose that battered wife. So that's how I would have done it. And frankly, to be honest with you, I think you had in defending it, you had an uphill battle. So, I probably still would have lost, but that's how I would have done it. And Sonora, it's orange.
And in a trial,
My favorite color is orange.
In a trial, who's more important, the judge or the juries?
They have 2 different roles. The jury makes the evaluation of all facts. So they're going to go, which do I believe? Do I believe Ms. Barrett, or do I believe Lee, whatever her name was? That's what a jury does. And they make the determination of what the fact is. The judge is the one who makes all the rulings about the law. So depends on a case. Some cases, the judge is kind of more important because the facts, there's not much in dispute, and it's more a question of how the law works. In this one, it kind of was both. because the judge had to make a lot of rulings about what defense would be heard and whether the Miranda rights were properly administered.
So like I heard like two different ways. Like there was to like get rid of, because like the defense really doesn't like the confession, because like it basically just is like ruins their case.
Oh, yeah.
But, like I know like some people, I know they just objected to it, but like I know we just said that you should get rid of it in our closing argument. So like in a real trial, which would you do?
In a real trial, you heard me mention one thing that's not in the script about motions in limine, because I would say pretrial motions and motions in limine. Motions in limine are motions about evidence that are heard by the judge and argued on paper with paper that are of certain importance that they don't want the jury to hear because it's just too damning. This case with the confession, that would have been a motion in limine, would have been argued. And that's when you would have had the testimony would have come up. The police officer would have had to testify, the witness. If it's hairy there because you don't want to necessarily bring your witness in, because typically you don't have a defendant testify for a lot of reasons. But in that case, if the police officer says, I might have, I typically do, but I can't testify that I did for sure, she's going to, that's going to get beaten. So you'd have that ruling would be done and it would never even come in. And so you're right that the confession is something that the defense team has to get out. But the prosecution does, even if the prosecution gets rid of it, there's enough other evidence, even without the confession, to win, and to win significantly. But boy, that's bad for the defense. And it's so bad for the defense that you can make an argument that it's not as important in your closing argument, but your best approach is just to get it barred right at the beginning. Anything else?
What happens if there's facts brought up in the closing statement that are not brought up in trial? What does the jury do with those? Do they just discard everything?
Yes, anything like that. I know in the rules, it said that you can't object to an opening statement or a closing argument. And that's true. It's kind of bad form. You hardly ever see it. However, those are a perfect example of when you would do that. If somebody were to say, well, there's a police report that was handed in that Ms. Barrett reported that she'd been beaten. Well, there's nothing in the evidence that supported that statement. The lawyer for the other side would object, not on the record, Your Honor. Court would have acknowledged it and ordered the jury to disregard it, and probably would have spanked the lawyer for making that statement.
I see. Thank you.
Anything else? How many of you enjoyed the experience? How many of you tomorrow morning are going to really say that you enjoyed this experience? Because I think probably in about a week, you're going to really like this experience a lot more than you do right now. Because I will tell you right now, for me, there is nothing that beats trial. I've had trials that have lasted for a couple weeks, and a trial, when you're in trial, your day starts at about 5:30 in the morning and ends about midnight. And that is every day, Saturday, Sunday, holiday, whatever day that is. But you don't even notice the time. You don't notice time going by. You don't notice that the fact that you're not eating, you're existing on bags of peanuts, in between your trial, while everybody else, while the jury members are all out eating, you're like just scarfing down peanuts and drinking a protein shake. And that can last for a couple weeks, and you literally don't notice. It's the most fun part of this job. And it's hands down the most exhausting part of this job. And typically, you know, in a civil, most of my experience, well, all of my experience at trial is civil. So, you know, prosecutors, they go to trial a lot. They go to trial a lot. We go to trial maybe once, twice a year. We end up working towards trial and then settling on the day before trial. But once you go through it, you typically want to take about a week off and just, not just watching TV is too much stress. After something like that, you just want to sleep. That's all you do. You just want to sleep and eat and hang out outside. Sonora.
I was just saying I agree. Like, yes, I can relate to that.
Yes. And it's
Do
fun.
you like being a lawyer?
I enjoy being a lawyer. I enjoy, I'm going to be, you know, in total honesty, being a lawyer is not the same thing as what most people think of it as being a lawyer. You do a lot of boring stuff. A lot of stuff we do as lawyers are boring. And I would say if any of your parents or you have close friends that you could, you know, go to work day kind of thing when those things pop up. And if you go, and if you were to go hang out at a lawyer's office, you might, depending on the day, you might find more excitement going with somebody working in an auto factory because it's boring. You're reading a lot of stuff. You're writing the same thing that you've written numerous times. But then 2 days after you feel that, you can have something that is so exciting. And so it kind of ups and downs. But I would say 90% of the time, I enjoy being a lawyer. I enjoy being a lawyer. I'd rather be a judge, but I'm not going to have that happen because I'm past the age of getting that promotion. Did I see a hand go up somewhere?
Thanks for taking your time to do this.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was a lot of fun. I had a blast. And like I said, I still can't believe that you guys are in junior high. That's just not right. That is just not right. But all of you did a great job. And I wish I could have written down specific things for each one of you because you should all feel very, very proud of what you did. Not just as lawyers, but also being a witness and conveying that. That alone is a very difficult thing to do. So you got to be an actor to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. You can't see who I'm pointing at. When I do that, you don't know which one I'm pointing at, but that's Folsom attorney, Lee Porter, Amy something.
What does it take to like become a judge?
To become a judge, this is my joke that I always say about a judge. I don't know how it works, but lawyers are on the bottom of the scale of the public trust, you know, right down there with used car salesmen, okay? Politicians are also at the very, very bottom of that scale. A judge is a lawyer who's a politician, but they're at the high end of the scale. So I really don't understand how that works. But to be a judge, you have to have a certain temperament. And in today's society, you have to really, if you're going to be a good judge, you have to really enjoy what you're doing because it's overworked. There's not enough judges for the number of the courtrooms that there are. So your caseloads are huge. And to take it seriously, what you need to, your day's like that trial day I was talking about, and it goes nonstop. So what you really are doing, you know somebody in the right spot who then can nominate you or something like that for a position. That goes through a whole process of vetting. Anybody you've ever known in your life gets a letter. This person's going to be a judge. What do you think of them? Are they honest? Can you fill out this evaluation? And then if everything goes well, you're appointed. And then after you're appointed, you can either, you know, be elected again or you go off. And some people run for judges. But most of the time, nobody knows who the judges are that are on the ballot. So it's kind of, it might as well just roll dice and know, because most people don't know if that are voting, they've never heard of that lawyer before. And so they might just vote because they like their last name. So that's how you do it on a state level. Federal court level is even harder. That you got to be appointed and then approved by Congress. And I see Dave down there. I think
Yeah,
he's ready.
yeah.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for your patience. And I guess that was a lot of, hopefully there were some good questions and some good advice from our mock trial judge today. So I was able to get results. But I will say before all that, we are thankful to God for this day. And great thanks to all that participated, that put today together, did a heavy lift to get it together today, with all the coordination and logistics and what we had to go through to put this together. And I think all things being that they were, it went off pretty well. I think I might have been the only one that had some technical glitches maybe along the way. So special thanks to our jurors and our judge who took the time today, and the directors. I think well done in preparing these students for this day, and everybody being able to tune in, and parents that were there proctoring in the background and hopefully encouraging along the way. So good job, everybody. Well done. So I do have final results, and I don't know how this has been done in the past. So directors, give me a little bit. Do you usually give them first, second, third, fourth, and with scores? I can start with the bottom and go up to the top. Input? Anybody care? Hearing none. Wow, okay, you're gonna give me the whole thing here. All right, so we'll do it like they do in, I guess, other types. So starting with fourth, we had North City in fourth place. Who wants, yeah, you can all clap, you can turn those off, and you can turn them, you're on, and clap and clap and clap.
Is that going to be prosecution or for defense?
Well, the way the evaluations are, they're all kind of put together. I mean, that's the final, yeah, total points.
Okay, the students are going to want to know for their particular trial if prosecution won or defense won. Do you have those scores?
Oh, well, yeah, because I had to get these other ones, but so you want me to,
Just continue, David, just continue how you had tabulated them, and then we can go back and talk about each individual trial. How about
yeah.
that? Is that okay?
I'll tell you what I did. So I did score everything up, and that's how I got the total and was able to rank them through the day. And what I can do is, I think it might be just in the interest of time, it's 5 o'clock. We've been doing this all day. I will scan the evaluation, my administrative evaluation forms, which has all the scoring, including the judges, and then each of the directors. Yeah, and my wife Carrie is going to go through and circle, and then the directors can probably just deliver that information. I think that's fair enough. You may have any problem with that? I'm punting, Venla.
Yeah, I think that's fine for now. Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah. So Cameron Park, total score 100, third place, 165 points. And I'm glad that you were all patient and we took the time to come up to evaluate and score first and second. You know, so I will give you the breakdown. Carrie went through and figured that all out right now. So, but I won't keep you in any more suspense on first and second. But it couldn't be any closer. There was a 2-point spread. That's 2 points. So second place with 178 points is Roseville. So Folsom with 180 points squeaked by. So congratulations, Folsom, on total points of 180 for first place in the 2020 mock trial Zoom version. Now, since my wife was here and was so great at being able to.
So first trial defense.
Okay. So first trial, round one, between Cameron Park and Roseville. Defense, Roseville. Congratulations. Round two, Folsom versus North City. Folsom, prosecution. Round three at 1 p.m. Roseville versus Folsom
Tie.
was a tie. Tie. So round three was a tie. I guess, yeah, between Roseville and Folsom. So I guess that was going to get appealed. Hung jury. That's the hung jury, right, Judge?
Yeah, that I do have the verdicts that you guys asked me to put together, but
okay,
not points wise. So
yeah. So then final round at 2:30, North City versus Cameron Park. That would be defense, Cameron Park on the win. Well done, everybody. Well done. There may be more questions, or the judge may have.
I just wanted to give everybody, the verdicts that I would have given them, not by points, by who did the best, but who would have won. Is Ms. Barrett going to jail or not going to jail? Is kind of thing.
Yes, we need to.
And well, Ms. Barrett certainly wants to know. And in the first round, my verdict would have been guilty. For the reasons that if you're getting these information, you're going to find out why. And in the second round, she also would have been guilty. In the third round, in what was to me the closest of all of them, it wasn't quite a hung jury, but she came in with a not guilty. So she's going to go free on that one. And round four was also guilty. So like I said, whoever had the defense, you had a tough row to hoe. And so that's how I would have found the actual findings on it.
If I can just speak up real quick and interrupt the process, just say a big thanks to David Beauchamp and your wife.
Yeah.
Obviously, the role of the administrator is difficult because you've never been in a mock trial, you've never seen a mock trial, and yet you did a great job and just were on it with all the scores, and we just really appreciate you.
I watch a lot of Perry Mason.
Yeah, and Randy, you, my favorite judge so far, just awesome. And I hope you're around for our mock trial next year.
I certainly hope I am. And if I am, I'll be more than happy to do something.
I would second that. Yeah, that was great.
And and big thank yous to the jury members that were able to be with us and participate. Thank you so much for jury. I would actually love to hear from some of the jury members if they are willing to share about their experience. And
I've said a few times, I think a good approach would have been to have it where Mr. Barrett was going for the gun and she had no choice but to shoot, to get in shoot first. I think that could have been a good play, that he was going for a knife or a gun or something. And it was more or less a race to see who can get it first. in self-defense. I'm not sure if that would hold up. Maybe just a strategy. I think if I was on the
We hear a baby.
And how about from some of our Challenge 3 students, or Mrs. Rivers, or who else is on here? I can't see everybody else.
I'll talk. That trial number 3 was really difficult. It was really that close in my scoring and in my mind. Both teams did so well with telling the story, like the judge said. So bravo both to Roseville and Folsom.
I liked in the last trial where the closing arguments was from a female, making the case for the battered woman, because there was more empathy and like Randy said, telling the story of a battered woman, I think was more compelling coming from a female. I think that was a good move in the closing arguments in that last one.
Any of our challenge student tutor or jurors would like to?
Tim. Let's see, John Rivers. I don't see John Rivers. He's maybe out running.
There you go.
I definitely noticed in the second trial. I don't know if Roseville had gone yet, but I know that Folsom had, and in the second trial, scores seemed to be higher than in the first one that I jurred.
They're probably a lot more comfortable with their second trial, huh?
And I'd like to say a thank you to all the colorful witnesses, the accents, the colloquialisms. That made for a really fun listening experience.
Completely agree that it's great to have some of them in character on that as best you possibly can. And yeah, that was entertaining.
I would think that that would help because the judge has to hear this case 4 times. So I'm sure that any little bit of acting helped change it up a little.
It did. Each one was just different enough. And that goes to show what happens when you're putting in different evidence and you make those choices on what you're going to bring in. Because it didn't, even though they were the same, enough of it was different that I didn't feel anything where it's like, oh man, if I hear this one more time, I'm going to be the one putting a bullet in my brain. Didn't feel that way at all.
That's so funny.
Fair enough. No, that was, I'd say, whoever's directing Challenge B next year, that would be a great tip to add into it. You know, make sure that they're different enough and that bringing in the local flair into the mock court room.
And for the first time in quite a few years, we will not have this case, Barbara Barrett. We will have a brand new case. So that will be very interesting. These kids, Randy, have done, well, not these kids, but the 8th grade classes have, over the last 3 or 4 years, I think, have done Barbara Barrett, right? Maybe 3. I think this is the 4th year in a row. Maybe.
Okay, well, I would say that the bigger problem for the people who have had to really deal with it is not just the kids, but it's the jurors and the directors who have got to be tired of the exact same fact pattern.
For sure. They have
It's
shirts
been-
you can buy that say something like Barbara Barrett's guilty or not guilty or something like that. And I think all these CC people across the nation know exactly who that is.
Free Barbara Barrett. There you go.
I've been a juror the past 3 years and I've heard this case every single time.
Oh.
So this last time was my 12th time hearing this exact same case. I have this case memorized. Like, it's not even funny at this point. I am so tired of this case. So I think I'm more excited than anyone else here that we finally mix it up a bit.
Yeah, these challenge three folks were lucky. They were one of the different cases, weren't they?
So Timothy, they can put your name down for next year, right?
100%. Even though I've heard this same case all of those times, each time it's something different and it's presented as Judge Merritt said, it's presented slightly differently that it doesn't get repetitive. Like, you can see how each team has put its own flair and its own thought into it. Each team has its own ideas to put forward. As Mr. Merritt said, each team has its own story to tell, basically. Some people on defense try to tell the battered woman story, and they really push that, right? And other people say it's a clear sign of self-defense, and the facts they use are completely different each time. So I'm not as tired of this case as I would think I would be. Like, I would hear it another 3 times easily, and it would still, I'm sure, be completely different each and every single time.
Well, all right. Any other comments? Participants, attorneys, witnesses, directors, anybody?
I know personally, as a juror, I used a pencil and I found myself erasing and changing scores based on emotion and the story being told. So really the ones who showed tears and emotion and didn't seem scripted, seemed more true to life, I ended up changing those scores. So telling the story like the judge said and showing emotion, I think for me was really important as a juror.
I guess as the administrator and having to receive and score and then have, and return some of those for recalculations. And I would recommend pencils. It might just be a little easier on yourselves. But with that, anybody else have anything?
I was just going to say thank you for everybody. Thank you for all the hard work from the students, as well as the jurors and the parents. It was a great experience. It was a great experience for me. Good luck to every last one of you. Like I said, there's a lot of talent that I saw today, not just for law, but for a lot of different career choices. You have it in here, so go get it. Thank you very much. I'm going to sign out though for right now. So
okay.
Take care.
Have a good evening, Randy. God bless you.
Same to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, well, I will
Thank
close
you.
this. I'll close this in prayer and send you all on your weekend. So if you'll please join me in closing prayer. Lord of all creation and mighty Redeemer, we are grateful for the day that you have provided to us. It has been a joyous day, a day that we know your Holy Spirit was working among all of us and in us. We pray that you continue to guide us and that we seek your kingdom above all things. Lord, bless these families and these students throughout their days as you see fit. We know your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. May you continue to provide them the guidance they need through the Holy Spirit working in their hearts and their lives. Guide us all as we continue on a path, on the narrow path towards the narrow gate. And I ask this in your precious Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you so much.
May God bless you and yours. Thank you very much,
Awesome.
everybody.
And thank you, LaRox, for getting us all technically up and running and recorded. So thank
Oh,
you.
yes, that was great, Janelle. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Oh, I should mention really quick, if for those of you who still on, students, this will be up on that YouTube channel until further notice. We have not decided when to take it all down, so it will be up until just further notice. So you can take tomorrow off if you want. You don't have to rush to go see the your trial tomorrow if you don't want to. If you want to take the weekend off and kind of, I advise that.
Good plan. The directors will be.
Yeah. My son watched the whole thing today.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, you'll see 6 different videos, basically. One for opening, 4 mock trial videos, and 1 for closing.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Everybody.